you and your brother took a bit of a left turn for your next project. You created
Yep.
something called the Haraway Brothers. Why was that not a Sundogs record?
So the reason is I, in particular, started to write a certain type of song myself. Okay, just me. And this was without collaborating with anybody. I was actually here in this basement. I wrote almost every song in this room, this particular room. And they were very specific, sort of like personal songs. And I was sort of, this was from my songwriting journey. This was when I finally took the leap that people say that you're supposed to take. And it took me a long time to get there. And it's about like writing very personal songs, like not like letting people in, not writing a story, but writing about yourself. Or if it is a story, making yourself part of the story. Like pretty much every song on that is about me and you know, my relationships and certainly our family. Like, and so I'm just sort of writing that type of song, and they're very simple kind of country tunes, right? And when I would hear them, I just wanted it to be, I didn't want that to be overpowered. I wanted it to be on the acoustic guitar, but more than anything, I wanted Lee's pedal steel, because Lee had gotten so good at this point at the pedal steel guitar, that I wanted his pedal steel to be the dominant instrument. I did not want there to be him to be fighting for space between a lead guitarist. Nothing against our lead guitarist, you know what I mean? Nothing against John, nothing against Kevin Thomas, our keyboardist, but I didn't want him to be fighting for frequency. I wanted it to be the pedal steel. I wanted it to be these songs and then a pedal steel break and the big swoops in it. And like that was, and our harmony, and that was going to be it. And to be honest with you, I did not know what it was going to be called. I probably, until we were in the middle of recording it, I just wanted to record it. And so like Benji Shanks, who also plays guitar with us, and he at the time was working with, and he still works with Christian Bush in Sugarland. And so he would come and do shows with us. And I asked him to do an Atlanta food and wine show with me. And my plan was like, you know what, we're just going to do these country songs. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to tell anybody that's what we're going to do, but that's what we're going to do. And so, and Lee's going to play pedal steel, and Benji's like, I'll play bass. And Benji's like one of the top guitarists in the United States. And he was like, I'll play bass. And I was like, so I'm going to put you on bass and I'm going to play guitar. I was like, okay, this sounds great. So we're just going to switch, because I normally play bass. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we're just going to switch, and that's cool. And it went so well that as soon as we got done, he's like, let's record them. I'll set it up. Let's just start recording them. And so we just set it up and started doing it. And, you know, the other guys were certainly a little confused about what we were doing, for sure. But I just had to kind of follow it. You know what I mean? It was just like, I wanted to get to the end of it, of this idea. And I didn't know if it was just going to be called Will Haraway, honestly. But then sort of in the middle of it, our Uncle Claude died. And we wrote a song called Mississippi Kite on there, the lead song off of there, which my Uncle Marty, Claude's brother, my dad's oldest brother, he actually wrote a poem. That's his poem, Mississippi Kite.
Oh, okay.
And so we turned that into a song. And then it started getting me thinking about those guys, because there's 5 of them, those brothers, and they're the real Haraway Brothers. Like, we're just Haraway Brothers, sure, but they're the real Haraway Brothers.
Interesting. So the title refers to you, but also to them.
To them, really.
Very good.
To them, really. Because you have to understand, when we were growing up, the way we connected with that group, because they all have about 2 to 3 kids apiece, all around the same age, is that we would go to Olive Branch, Mississippi, to one of their houses or my grandmother's house. All of those guys play guitar. They all love Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Ian Tyson, you know, Neil Young, Patsy Cline. They love all that stuff. And so like they would get together, and that's what they would do. They would play all these songs together, and we would just kind of watch. John Denver was a big one back then. John Denver still, our family still loves it. Mm-hmm. And so like they were just so influential to us back then. And so all that stuff sort of starts rushing back, you know what I mean, as you get a little bit older. Right. And of course, one of them passing away, he was the first one to pass away. And so that's really where that came from, man. It was my desire to get those songs into the world, you know, and I just wanted to hear Lee's pedal steel in all its glory, really. And I think through the help of Benji, the way he plays guitar through that, because he played guitar and bass on that. I really just sang and wrote the songs, which is a real departure and fun for me. But like the way Benji sets up that, he, like all of his guitar work is in service of setting up the pedal steel, and he's such a great musician, he can do that. And since we brought Springsteen up, we did that one with Tom Tapley, who Tom and Benji did that one together over at Christian's place, and Tom worked on the Devils and Dust record. He worked on he was a big guy with Brendan O'Brien, and he worked on the Devils and Dust record, and I think the Rising, all of the stuff that they did in Atlanta, Tom worked on.
Okay.
So we were in good hands there. That's why it sounds so good, in my opinion.
Well, I want to ask you, I want to get a little more personal, and if you don't want to go there, you can just let me know.
Sure.
You've talked about the fact that you suddenly felt you've reached a point where you had things that you really wanted to say that were personal to you, and you wanted to get them out there. Did something bring you to this point, or did you just arrive at it at a certain age? Was there something that premeditated this and brought you to this place?
I want to say that the first one of it was just like a series of just super weird events, honestly. Like, this is going to sound so stupid, but it's the absolute truth. It was that I dreamed. So the song on there called Love and Luck, right? So the song Love and Luck is on that record. And that song came about because I had a dream, realistic dream, about writing a song with Willie Nelson. And I know it sounds so dumb.
No, not at all.
But it's the truth. Like, it was a very vivid dream. Willie and I were sitting around. He gave me a couple of lines, and it was like old words come through like a blade. I think that was like mostly, I think that's kind of had what I had to work with. And I like woke up and wrote it down.
Yeah.
You know, I like woke up and I was like, that was super weird. And I wrote it down. And then I sort of filled in the blanks with just sort of the way I feel about my children, which, you know, middle-aged dad rock, whatever, I don't really care. You know, it's fine, whatever the inspiration is. You know, but it sort of is that. It just became like a sort of an advice, you know, and good luck in being a human, sort of, you know what I mean? And so like that sort of started it. And then, you know, and the other thing was, so even before that, I think the one that actually, so that was in that journey. But before that, we wrote a song for the movie Girl on the Train. You know the movie Girl on the Train, Paula Hawkins, the book, and the movie by Tate Taylor. So Tate Taylor is a family friend of ours, and at a wedding, he and I talked about us writing a song for the record. So like, he probably thought I was full of shit, but then we came home and I immediately started working on it. And I read the book. You know, the movie wasn't out yet, obviously, so I read the book and really tried to get in that character's head and write a song that was personal, you know, that you know, still involved like the way I would think about it. And you know, it's a woman as the main character, so that was an interesting, you know, an interesting exercise too. But that sort of exercised the muscle, if that makes any sense. They didn't end up taking the song, but we obviously used it on the record. And play it to this day and really love it. And that sort of started the muscle. And then I wrote Rice Street pretty soon after that, which is sort of going down the rest of that adventure, you know what I mean, in a way.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then of course the stuff with my uncle and that sort of starts to pull at the emotional heart. And I think there was another one on there, which is about actually the other side of my family, Hallelujah, where I just really dove into my grandfathers, you know, and that kind of stuff, you know, but certainly the relationships I have with my children, the relationships I have with my wife, you know, all of that stuff can get in there. And once you figure out, especially when you start to do these songs because we started doing, after we did the Haraway Brothers, and a little bit of this was intentional. We really wanted to get into doing songwriters festivals. Mm-hmm. They started being a thing, especially the 30A Songwriters Festival. We really wanted to get into that. So that was another reason for doing that record the way we did it, was so that we could have another act, just the two of us, that could be an act. That was another, you know, reason to do it. And so, you know, once you start doing those kinds of shows where it's just like you and Lee, and sometimes just me or whatever, and you've got a room full of 30 quiet people, 50 quiet people, 100 quiet people just staring at you, really listening, not drinking beer and talking and all that, but really like soaking in the story. Then you realize you really have to give these people yourself, or it's not going to work. Like, you have to feel those feelings. You've got to give it to them. You know, that's what I like. That's what I want out of my artists. You know, I want people to give me your heart. I mean, and that's sort of where I realized it. It's like, you got to give people your heart.
What's that line in Hallelujah where I say it, but I don't mean it the way you think? What is the line exactly?
It's, hallelujah is what I say, but hallelujah is what I say, but I mean it in different ways.
Right.
So the idea is, we grew up Episcopalian, and hallelujah is all over the, you know, Episcopalian liturgy and everything. And so the idea is you can say it in church, you know, obviously you can say it at a football game, you know what I mean? Uh-huh. You can say it in the parlance of the story within that song. You can absolutely say it when you're in the Civil War and you are able to surrender without dying. You know what I mean?
Right. So here we are again with the more than one meaning for a word thing. It's coming up again and again and again. Is this something you're aware of, this enjoyment of words that have more than one meaning?
I don't think that I have thought about it, Adam. I'm gonna have to give you credit. I don't think that I've ever thought about it before. I know that I mean, I am a lifelong writer in all kinds of ways. So, and I love words, and I'm a reader. So, you know, I certainly love double entendres, and I love words. So that, you know, it wouldn't surprise me that would be something that I would go back to, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you love seeing your band in different combinations too, with different people. So you like seeing how the music changes with different influences on you.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
And so how is that going to affect your new album, Embroidered Rose, which is coming out right now?
So that's, so yes. And that is sort of the culmination. And I know that every artist says this, every band says this, like, this is our best work. This is it. This is the one. This really is the one. This really is our best work. And I think we've sort of gotten through that story here today, because I can explain it a little bit, in that we loved that Haraway Brothers record so much. I mean, we still do, but like, we were so pleased with it. Like, as opposed to all of the rest of them had some warts on them that maybe you certainly don't see, right? You've been very kind and tell me that you like those records. I like those records too. But there are things that, just because they're mine, that I'm going to see the flaws, right? Mm-hmm. But with Haraway Brothers, I don't see a lot of flaws with that one, or at least the flaws, I'm comfortable with the flaws. You know what I mean? And so, like, we were so pleased with that experience of doing it. We were so pleased with the way that it worked out. We were pleased with the artwork. We were pleased with how it turned out. That enabled us to really start a whole nother genre of shows. You know, like, we went to New Mexico and did the Red River Songwriters Festival, you know, the Red River Valley, you know, we've got 3 or 4 of those coming up this year, you know, Opelika and 30A again, and back to New Mexico. And so it was a real shot in the arm by doing something, really just following the muse. Honestly, like, here's 9 songs that I've got written here. What do I want to do with them, and what can happen with them? And just sort of, at least for me, just sort of really finding my voice, as I told you, you know. So with this album, we obviously had the pandemic, and we were stuck doing no shows, which was helpful. To be honest with you, I think a lot of bands will tell you this, is that if you're not sitting around having to look for the next, book the next show, promote the next show, practice for the next show, play the next show, you got a little bit of time on your hands, you know, to concentrate on writing some tunes and getting them. And so the idea here was that we really wanted to commit to that sound that we established on the Haraway Brothers. And by that, I mean the drenched in the harmony, drenched in the pedal steel, like really just like leaning into that pedal steel stuff, just leaning into it, but also modernizing it, and also taking it. Certainly, there's some acoustic, but putting a little bit more of the, you know, that rock and roll sort of balance. You know what I mean? There's a lot of electric rock, you know, full on, almost in. We have one song that's almost in freaking Guns N' Roses, AC/DC homage, and I'm so proud of it. We worked on that yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, but then we have, you know, some others that are just, you know, nice little finger picking things that actually Bradley plays. Actually, so you're talking about collaborating and sort of learning. The other thing is like learn what you're good at. Like a lot of times for a lot of these songs, I wrote, like there's a song Space and Time that I wrote, and Bradley helped me come up with a couple of the changes. But then like I had recorded my finger picking style to it, which is fine, but Bradley's one of the best finger pickers that I've ever seen. So we came to it, it was like, well, what if Bradley just finger picked it? So he just redid my part and it sounds amazing. You know what I mean? And so part of it is like, don't be precious about your stuff. You know what I mean? Don't be precious about like, oh, I've got to, no, I wrote that, I've got to be on, you know, don't do that. It's all about what is the best for the song, what is going to make the song the best, and coming into it with that attitude with every single decision that you make, like what is the best musical decision we can make here. And that's how we got there. I mean, this was mostly Jeff Mills, whose studio is the one that we're working on. Another connection through Bradley. He also plays drums with Bradley, but he's a brilliant drummer and a brilliant musician in every sort of way, really. But he's a producer, and he and Kevin Thomas, who was our keyboardist, they really sort of took the production reins here, just with me sort of in the back in their ear, really, just to sort of chime in on stuff. But they're the ones that know all the techniques and the stuff. And I mean, we just couldn't be happier about the way it turned out, and the songs that, you know, obviously John has contributed his normal kick-ass, badass songs. Lee's got a great song in there. You know, it's just our whole like family of guys, you know, and girls. We have we brought in a young lady to sing sort of a I don't know what you even call it. It's not necessarily a duet, but almost like if you ever listen to Pink Floyd and the Great Gig in the Sky, like some of that real ethereal type stuff. She comes in and does that on one of April is her name, April Flowers, and she comes in and does one on Lee's song that's just gorgeous, and we wanted to have some of that femininity in it, you know. Yeah. But really, when I go back, and I've been listening to it a lot, as you can imagine, but the lyrics are, you know, some of them are really funny about like, you know, doing whatever key bumps in the bathroom, you know. Some of them are funny and stuff, and picking up mushrooms off the side of the road and putting them in your SUV. There's some of that in there, but there's also a lot of stuff about, you know, John has a song called Forgiving Myself, which like literally makes me want to cry sometimes. It's, you know, and it's about just him sort of beating his own ass about the decisions that he's made, you know what I mean? And that's hard to do. And it's a vulnerable thing to do. You know, I have a song where I'm based, you know, I'm singing about just sort of a resurrection of my own sort of emotional well-being. You know what I mean? It's like these sort of things that, not to get too weepy about it, but just to, you know, just putting your heart out there, you know?
Would you like to share one of those songs with us right now?
Yeah.
An embroidered rose was ripped from my chest, and the rest of my sleeve was close behind. As it loaded up to rearrange my face, Adam got between us just in time. Now I got nothing to hide, because I'm wearing half a shirt, but the cops wrestled him down instead of me. Last Dance began to play, on a summer night near young, and I headed out the door with John and Lee. Only a fool tells half the story. Only the jester does half the dance. Only the hero gets the glory. Only the lonely get a second chance. An embroidered rose flashed before my eyes and disappeared in the folds of her dress. As she smiled and she danced to Down on the Farm, I caught a look from her boyfriend, I guess. He yelled out that we sucked and he'd had enough of this dirty, grungy, stinking hippie band. The next thing that I knew, I saw the soles of Cameron's boots as he flew from the stage at him like Superman. Only a fool tells half the story. Only the jester does half the dance. Only the hero gets the glory. Only the lonely get a second chance. Print the legend if the memory ain't exactly up to code. In the movie for the hero, before the credits roll, let 'em roll and make it beautiful and temporary, like an embroidered rose. Only a fool tells half the story. Only the jester does half the dance. Only the hero is the glory. Only the lonely get a second chance. Only the lonely get a second chance. Only the lonely get a second chance.
Will Haraway, Embroidered Rose, off their upcoming album, Embroidered Rose from the Sundogs. I noticed now you all have been doing Tom Petty tribute shows since 2008. And at
That's
first
right.
I was listening to the early albums thinking, where's the Tom Petty? Because your songs are very expansive as opposed to Tom Petty's very sparse and, very efficient songs. But as the albums have gone on, I'm hearing more and more Petty influence. Have you been learning from him as you've been doing those shows?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a really good observation. We absolutely have. We joke about it all the time. I know that when I am writing a song, that is one of the people I think about, especially when it comes to, just to get real nerdy and specific, a bridge, like, that little descending A minor thing there, the walk up thing. He was big on bridges, but only his bridges are legendary, but only if they serve the song. He didn't have them in every one. Like his whole thing was that it needed to be better than what was happening, or at least, just a swift departure and make you want to go back to the original thing. and it's stuff like that. And like the Don't Bore Us, Get to the Chorus. That's another one of his things. Love that. You know, that there's just putting the outro. One of his clever things that I always loved is like, you know, they would jam out on something like Refugee, but the jam would be at the end, so that the DJ at the radio station could cut it off at the 3:50 mark. It still goes on for like 2 minutes, you know. But yeah, we definitely do. I mean, because when you do those type of shows, you have to learn all of it. That's the reason why we started doing it, was that we wanted an act that was like a fun thing, you know, and something. I mean, just to go back, I don't know if you're familiar with the Yacht Rock Review guys. You know those guys back then? So I love those guys, and they're friends of ours. And I think within 5 minutes of seeing them, and you know, they do they just put out their own original album after years and years, and it's called Hot Dads and Tight Jeans, which is right up their humor. I mean, but it's a great album, and it's original stuff, which they obviously always had the talent and the ability to do. But like when we first saw their cover show, it was like a light bulb went off, and it was like, they're just having so much fun, and they're inhabiting that music. And, you know, cover bands get such a bad rap and whatever. And it was like, but if you kind of just take the material and play it the way you would play it anyway, you know what I mean? Like, just play it like your band. Don't try and like, you know, whatever, put on a top hat and, you know, be the Mad Hatter, you know, from Don't Come Around Here No More, put on a costume. You know, and just play the songs like your band sounds, then it works. And that's just the way we do it, you know. And it's been super fun. We love doing it, you know, we really do. So, you know, we're doing it this weekend, as a matter of fact. So
fantastic. Supposing folks want to check out your albums, especially the new one, Embroidered Rose, or they want to see you, how can we find out more about you?
Yeah, so sundogs.net has been our online home, but for years and years. But I mean, obviously we're on Instagram, which is Sundogs Atlanta. We're on Twitter, which is actually, you know, the Sundogs, just all one word on Twitter. We're on Facebook, certainly. But really the best way to find us is going to be on the streaming services. You know, you got to start with the music, in my opinion, you know what I mean? So you could find any of those records on Spotify. You can find any of those records on Apple Music, or you know, I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but any of the streaming services have our stuff. Amazon, you know, all of that stuff.
Now, there are other Sundogs out there, other bands called the Sundogs. So streaming services can be a little confusing. How can we make sure we find you?
Look for my face.
I look for your face, and maybe the album names too are helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So you're right. So the other one, and we figure we're just going to outlast these guys, is this. Well, it makes it pretty easy because they're a Zydeco band. Yeah. And I'm sure they're great. What, you know, whatever. You know, I'm not really into Zydeco, but I'm sure if you're into Zydeco, that's cool. But yeah. So, but ours is you know, as you mentioned, BB Gun Days, Instrument of Change, Cut and Run. And then the Haraway Brothers, Wish You Love and Luck in the World, and then this new one, Embroidered Rose, which we hope to, you know, be fairly prevalent, you know, as far as, and we've got some plans. Like we're actually going to do maybe compile the other records into one record, just to make it easy for people to. It's hard to call something a greatest hits record when you don't have any hits, but we were thinking about calling it greatest B-sides, you know, right? And just put in some of those songs you're talking about, like Recreation and, you know, like Recreation and My Last Drink and Oasis from you know, songs like that, and, you know, Desperation of Borrowed Time from our past, and just make it easy for people to just like, if you hear Embroidered Rose and then you say like, oh, those guys have been around for this long, what's their other stuff, just to go right to it. So that's really the idea. But yeah, you can, you know, we'll be really active on all of the social platforms, and you know, if you see any of those songwriters festivals, look for the Haraway Brothers for sure. We definitely play in Atlanta all the time. You know, we're playing at Smith's Old Bar, where we're on the 28th. No, I'm sorry, the 31st of July, where we're going to be doing a lot of the Embroidered Rose songs. So it'll be sort of a release in a way. And obviously, as we've talked about a little bit in this interview, you know, we've obviously hit on what we think is the format, and that's vinyl. So we have Embroidered Rose will be on vinyl, and then Greatest B-Sides will be on vinyl, and then the Haraway Brothers Wish You Luck in the World will be on vinyl. If you're a vinyl nerd like me, that's super exciting, to know that. And I hope that the other vinyl nerds will snap them up when they come up. They will be affordably priced, I can tell you that much.
Will Haraway, thank you so much for taking all this time to talk with us today.
Man, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you for pointing out all the things I didn't think about myself before we started. I like that, especially the bit about the double meanings. That's cool. I'll have to either do more of that or cut it back. I haven't decided yet.
That'd be another album probably. Well, thank you again. And thank you all folks for tuning in to check us out. We have lots of great other interviews coming out. Be sure you check out our interview with Tom Wehrman, who produced Cheap Trick. That's a real pleasure of an interview. Yep. Real excited about that one. That'll be coming out in just a month or so. If you can't find Mr. Haraway and you would like some help finding the Sundogs, you can contact me at adam@willowschoolga.com. Always happy to talk with you. And if there's anything else we can do for you, we'd be glad to. You can do this for us. You can subscribe to our channel. Please do that. And please like these videos. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for spending your time with us. And we will see you next time.